Okay, here we are. Um, it's been a second. It's been a few days, almost a week, and I haven't been working on this. Um, so I just want to, jump back into it. The reason I haven't been streaming or working or doing anything was I went to Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, to attend OIAF, Ottawa International Animation Festival. I had a great time. Saw a lot of really cool films. Gave away a bunch of business cards. Met a bunch of cool people. Connected with some old professors. It was cool. We had a whole group of alumnuses from my alma mater, and we all got an Airbnb. It was really fun. Within walking distance of all the festival grounds too, so right in the middle. Yeah, so I thought, since this is roughed out, you've been seeing it loop. You've been seeing the rough loop on screen. Let's see. I just want to pull this up yeah, it's muted. Okay, great. And I just thought while I do cleanup, I would just discuss the films, the screenings that I saw. I'm streaming kind of early. I know it's kind of not the best schedule to be streaming on. Gotta plug in this. Where is it at? Plug in my pen. See, I used this rough as kind of a streaming soon card, and it helps me not feel so ill prepared. It helps me feel more prepared. Gives me time to prepare. Gives me time to get ready, get my brain ready to start talking. So once it's finished, I can imagine it being... Is my audio working? Yep. I heard myself take a breath, and that's all I want to hear myself do. Cannot hear my voice. It'll ruin my day. Yeah. So I guess we'll just start cleaning this up. And so I left... this is a good point for me to start cleaning up because I haven't gotten all my drawings in yet. I feel like if I have them and I've worked on them and iterated on each individual frame at this stage, then cleanup can become very, very tedious for me, very laborious. So if I leave myself a little bit of problem solving to do while I clean up, it helps ease that process. So I'm going to do my milk layer that I mentioned. I don't think I'll ever stop calling it milk. I could call it like low opacity white or something, but that's not as fun. And I like to set my my white filter to like 92% opacity, so I can still draw on it quite easily. Okay, that's all working. And I've left, oh, you can't see it actually, but on the right of the screen I've left some space. I figured what's over there is not quite important for now, so I've cropped that off. Considering just cropping off the tools as well, I feel like you guys will understand when I'm using a rectangle and when I'm using a brush. I don't think that's too much to ask of my audience. But I think this here is interesting to see the frame break down, and of course you want to see the drawing. And I thought maybe in that space I could do a little. I have a guy in mind, a little guy perhaps, to fill that area. And if I can swing it, I want to see if I can have that guy kind of announce it kind of in this area when there's a new subscriber or a new, whatever notification. I don't know if YouTube does that. Maybe that's more of a Twitch thing, but, I'll probably figure that out. Just to give the stream a little more visual interest. And Facecam, I don't know if that's coming. We'll see. You're asking an animator to keep up appearances, which is Sisyphean. Okay, so I think I want to clean everything up on one layer, even the parts where this hair, I don't know. Maybe I don't want to do that actually. That will be a lot of work. My thought was if I were to just clean up everything on one layer, I'd have to redraw, for example, this and this. It would be two different drawings, even though in my rough, my face is one drawing and my hair is on a different layer. That's two drawings. And I thought redrawing at every frame would kind of give it a little more of a finished quality, but I think I can still make it finished and not make it hell for me to do. So let's just say I'll call this one face clean. And we'll start right here. This is already almost a finished drawing, but maybe I want to lower my brush size, add more detail. Okay, I'm realizing what I anticipated this stream to be might be a little bit difficult as I focus on each individual line, but let's just try it. I wanted to go through each film that I saw in Ottawa in the order that I viewed them, and I have my little book here, a physical book for $5 Canadian. It's really nicely made. It's a great souvenir if you went to Ottawa. It's a good thing to grab. But it has the entire schedule. And the first thing I saw was dots, lines, and washes. And I want to find the page that details which films were in this showing. It was a small talk about here it is, dots, lines, and washes. There's a big write-up in this, but I want to see which films. Okay, that's probably I can probably just work that out. Okay. So how did it start? It was a small talk talking about how ink has been used in animation, and I thought it was quite interesting. It touched on maybe the undesirable history of ink and paint in animation, and they showed this one video that we actually were shown in college by one of my professors. It was a very old documentary of like the original Disney ink and paint department, and the clip that they showed was something that we had seen, and a lot of my peers have we've joked about. It's really funny how they said and the ink in that Pan Atlantic accent, they said tens of pretty girls are working, like hard at work, uh, translating the pencil drawings onto cells, and they kept talking about how pretty these girls were. Um, it was seen as like, quote, women's work, right? Um, the arduous task of making sure everything is perfect. But all the male animators were able to just scribble and be expressive and not have to worry, because of course only men could animate, which of course is not the case. But they kept saying these pretty girls. It was just really, it was laughable. But what they did show, what did they start with? I don't think, yeah, they started with, I think, Windsor McKay, Little Nemo. But the first full short that they showed was Shi Chen's A Fly in a Restaurant. Shi Chen was featured elsewhere in the festival. I think they had like a retrospective for him. But this film I was happy to see. I didn't get to see the other Shi Chen films. That's another thing. It was really difficult to schedule what you wanted to see, and also have time to eat food. And sometimes you missed some stuff that you did want to see. I don't think I ever saw. Maybe I'm mistaken. I was going to say, I don't think I ever saw the shorts film block 1. I think I started with 2. Anyway, yeah, I didn't see Shi Chen's other featured works, but this one, A Fly in a Restaurant, was really cool, from 2018. It was mostly like paper cutout animation, but it was all ink. It was all ink on paper that they've cut out, and I think digitally animated, or they scanned it and digitally cut it out and animated it that way. But it was like this bird's eye view, like a really odd perspective of this restaurant in China, and everything just looked so, like, visually it looked so dirty and grimy, just because of the nature of ink and all these washes and splatters that Shi Chen applied to this paper. And it was just this slowly rotating top-down view, and this room was not. It was a small room. You get the idea that it's very, very cramped, and it was just kind of like, I'm actually not sure if this is the correct word. Let me look it up. Let's see. Oh, yeah, that's great. That's definitely the word I was looking for. It's a tableau. It's kind of an animated tableau of this really cramped restaurant, this Chinese restaurant, and it's so slow moving. It's difficult to even resolve what the room looks like when it's stationary, or like when it's in full view. You get like a limited view, right, of the composition of the frame, and then the entire room is rotating around it almost. You get a window into one arc of the room, one section of this circle. But it was tough to rationalize the shape of the room in your head. I'm getting emails for. It's probably just YouTube telling me I'm. Yeah, telling me I'm live. Great. Yeah, and there was elements of comedy. There was just this one chef running around swatting this fly. It's interesting. He called it a fly in a restaurant. It's definitely a big part of the film. You see somebody swatting a fly, but ultimately it's bigger than that. Like, it's not just a fly. It's like you get to see these people interacting and eating and kids running around. It's not just the fly. So that was really cool. I want to see what they've written for this. There's also oh yeah, this is not. I wish they gave me a better, like, a list of what happened first and what happened second. What I'm missing is the short that showed before this, within Dots, Lines, and Washes, was it was called Walking. I think this was something I had been shown in, maybe it was character animation, or maybe it was history of animation. Not quite sure. But Walking, it was a collection of walks. Yeah, that's it for Shichen, I guess. I liked it. It was really neat. Walking was, who's that by? Ryan Larkin. It's from '68. And it starts with just a head-on perspective of just a character walking, a man walking. It's head-on, maybe the camera's up a little bit, right, looking down at this figure. And walking very slowly. He's doing that Bob Dylan walk, I think, that's like been memed. And that specific shot shows up later in the film as we cut back and forth, we cross-cut. And what they'll do with that specific shot is you'll have one version of the shot that's fully inked and has all its lines fleshed out, right? You see the guy's face, you see his jacket. But then there are some points where it flicks to just his positive space, and it's just this very light wash where it gets darker towards his edges and lighter towards his center. And they don't seem to be worried about blocking the paper. They seem to be focused on showing how this paper is rippling and being affected by this wet medium. And then it would be intercut with it was a wide breadth of techniques used in this film. Some parts you'd see like ink, like black India ink from a sumi brush being watered down. And then later you'll see like something resembling a Copic or a Copic marker, like those alcohol markers, with these pink figures. Again, all just walking. It feels kind of disparate, but the one thing is that it's always like a walk cycle. Yeah. And they'll cut back to that first walking shot, and it's his positive space, and then it'll go to his negative space where they ink around him, and that'll make the paper go even crazier and start rippling. Sorry. it was really neat. I think I've seen it before. It was cool to see it again. It's definitely, I mean, it's from 1968, right? So there's definitely there's some tropes about this is how a woman walks, this is how a man walks. But it's still just very, very beautifully animated, if nothing else. What's next? What was next in dots, lines, and washes? A bite of bone. Which one was this one? Oh, a bite of bone. That one was fun. Yeah. So that one was done. That was 2021. It's just a few years old, and it's done in ink markers, and it's all stippled. It's all like beautifully done stippling, and it's this story about these two kids. I think their dad died, but it's remembering him, remembering their grandfather, and like a bite of bone. It was like, I forget what they said, but like the grandfather was like, yeah, you just take one bite of this bone, of like beef bone or something, and you'll be, I don't know if it was like you'll be strong or like you'll get great fortune, something like that. I forget, but that was really cool. Who did that one? That was Honami Yano, Japanese name Onekami, a bite of bone. Really cool. Excuse me. Let me mute my mic for a second. Yeah, my voice got pretty hoarse at Ottawa. A lot of like parties where you kind of do have to scream a little bit to get your business card out, right? Either they'll just have music playing or loud films playing, or just everybody's talking and socializing. So my voice was kind of shot, and then the job fair, great, right? A job fair. Apparently, nothing was hiring, which is a little disappointing, but it definitely, I mean, it's practice. It was good practice for me, I thought. I'm not good at, initiating conversation and sustaining one. I'm talking to myself just fine, right? But when you're talking to people in the industry that you want to hire you, it's a challenge. You have to, like, present yourself, but also you don't want to just shove your business card in someone's face, right? Like as if they're like oh yeah, Jay, of course. Thanks for stopping by and commenting. Yeah, you don't want to shove your business card in someone's face. I always asked, like, do you mind if I give this to you? Can you receive my business card now? Like, I don't want them to not be ready, but luckily there was always something to talk about, right? Are you enjoying the festival? What films have you seen? And then from whatever studio they're from, hey, what have you worked on? What's your favorite thing you've worked on? Stuff like that, and then you can try and relate those projects to something you've done. And the ace up my sleeve was Buster and TJ. That's all I had. But luckily, some studios did work with Adult Swim, so I could, hey, I also work for Adult Swim. Did some work for Adult Swim. I wasn't employed by Adult Swim, just full disclosure. Yeah, Bite a Bone was cool. There was one that I really liked. Okay, well, so much for going in order. Okay, well, how about I just tell you the ones I liked and didn't like, just from memory. There was this one that was like a butterfly. I want to find the title, though. That's the problem. It's something to do with a butterfly. Oh, yes, okay. Sophia L. Chiari's, goddamn, this is, it's in French. L'Ombre des Papillons, Shadow of the Butterflies, released last year. Finds middle ground between paper and plastic with non-absorbent paper. That was interesting. That's something that stuck out to me from that specific film. Was it looked like what they were doing was they were washing out, like in post, they were like boosting the whites so white so that you couldn't see the texture of the paper. But as soon as ink would show up in the animation, it would reveal in just a small area the texture of the paper where the ink was sitting. Like it would have like splotchy lines, and so you could kind of glean that information from how the ink was reacting. And that was like a big, I mean, the whole reason that this talk existed was because it was just to show, like, that was it. That was the main focus, ink on paper, right? And they said, think of this as a retrospective of ink as an artist. This is ink's work, right? It's several different animators making animations, making pieces of animation, but this is the work of ink, not as a medium, but as an artist. It was kind of interesting how they framed that, and it kind of primed you to accept these films in a different way. Shadow of the Butterflies, really cool, disgusting at some points, as in a good way, like it makes you feel something. Maybe uncomfortable. The sound design, that's something that might come up several times as I talk about the films, because there was a lot of crummy sound design at Ottawa this year, and there was a lot of really good sound design. But this one was great. I think out of all the ink, the dots, lines, and washes, animating ink screening, a lot of the films just kind of defaulted to this wet, nasty sound design. But and it was kind of just off-putting and not really, sometimes it didn't really feel inspired. But I think this one, for some reason, this one just stuck out to me so much. Like, I really did enjoy this one, and the sound design accompanying it. It was, it just worked, because there's a lot of, I think the content supplemented the sound design and vice versa. There was a lot of imagery of, butterflies and metamorphosis and cocooning, and that's kind of like a natural-made paper if you think about it. And this film was made on paper. Interesting to think about. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once here. Okay, that is fine, and then this should just be the jawline. What else? Yeah, there was like a moment, speaking of like that wet sounding audio, there was this moment where like the image throughout the film shifted from one composition to another, like very seamlessly. And then all of a sudden, this image of like like a tongue going into an ear, like the mouth was pressed up against this ear, and you could see the tongue and hear the tongue slither out of the mouth and into the ear, like this infiltration. It was really, really nasty, but like so effective and so strong. But a film that used this type of, I don't want to say utilized, because it felt so uninspired to me, that same wet sound design. Which film was it? It had all these boxes, and like it had a lot of cardboard box imagery, like these cubes would open up like cardboard boxes, and they're just everywhere and everywhere and everywhere. Just keep popping up. I didn't like that one. It just seemed kind of, the timing was very static. Everything just kind of happened after the next thing. Sorry, I want to make sure this looks good while if that gives the illusion of it. Yeah, that's fine. I think it'll be fine. Yeah, wasn't a fan of whatever that one was. There was this scene where, like, and it's hard to say scene with these ink animations, because a running theme was just like one composition morphing into the next. I think my partner Josephine, that was oops. Oh, I should lock this. That was one of her main gripes with the dots, lines, and washes, where it just seems like everything morphs into the next thing, and there isn't much semblance of narrative, which can be fine, right? I thought, like, utilized correctly, it could be interesting, like in Shadow of the Butterflies, right? But this one with those boxes, I can't even find where it is in this write-up. If I could, I would say, but frankly, I'm not too enthralled by that film. Unfortunately, I don't really care who did it. Sounds bad, but there was this one scene that would come forward that was like, it was like these bodies with a cardboard box as their genitals, and they were having sex, and it just, I don't know. That's a big theme too in Ottawa this year. Sex and masturbation, for some reason, just kept showing up. So I guess content warning. Some of the films also do include scenes dealing with sexual assault, which those will come up later. When did I start streaming? I started streaming 40 minutes ago. Okay, when I'm only through my first, the first thing I saw. Well, let's just see how long I can go. That seems fine. And we'll see if I can get this. Maybe I just don't care what this hair is doing, and I'm not coloring it in yet. Maybe it'll shift and look differently. But these I'm going to almost trace. I'll be very faithful to that first drawing I've done. What am I saying? Okay, dots, lines, and washes. Yeah, that one wasn't great. There was a good one called maybe this will be the last one that I mention in this for this block, but it was called Evolution of the Red Star by Adam Beckett. And in the talk prior, they mentioned, and they said, hey, there are only 6 frames in this animation, and here are the 6 frames. Just showed it, right? And it was just this big composition of shapes with like a repeating pattern within them, like this, right? And like this. That was the red star. So it'd be like that, like just all over. And it was just a big composition of those, right? And also stuff like this. And it would do something like that. And then these would be like adjacent to another one. All the way up, right? And I thought, well, okay, it's 6 frames. Like, how are they? I don't understand how that makes up this whole animation. I cannot understand it. They used optical printer. And they had this one composition, right, that was looping. And it was just those concentric lines growing inwards into the shape that they were occupying. And growing the right, like processing, and it would just loop 6 frames. So it constantly looked like the shape was collapsing into itself. And they used the optical printer, and it reminded me a lot of when I took intaglio screen printing class in college, because they would do a process called stopping out. For example, how can I give this backstory without being too verbose? But you basically take a copper plate and you dunk it in acid, right? Ferric chloride, and it eats away at the copper, and you can do this in a controlled way. And for lines that you want to be darker, you leave in the acid for longer. You leave exposed to the acid for longer. And for lines that you want to be lighter, lines or tones that you want to be lighter, you leave them exposed to the acid for less time. So what you'd do is you'd put the copper plate into the acid for, say, 30 seconds, right? For your lightest lines or values, and then you would take the copper plate out, rinse it off, and then you'd put more hard ground on the lines that you wanted to only be exposed for 30 seconds. Does that make sense? Like, those are your lightest values, and you're covering them up, and then you're dunking the plate back into the acid to eat away at the lines that are still exposed further, and you do that several times, so you have a range of values. And the reason that this film, Evolution of the Red Star, reminded me of that process was because they drew the entire composition first, right? They said, this is what I want the film to look like at the end. So they put that into the optical printer, right? This looping GIF, basically, before GIFs were invented. And they stopped out. They stopped out specific sections of the composition. So it looked like all those crazy snake lines, right, were being developed. Like they would come in, they would grow inward. on against a white background. Watching this in the P-Feist. All right, cool. That sounds cool. We all love you. Oh, great. What do you mean we all? How many? How many people? Are they handsome? Can they give me a job? So they're stopping out the specific sections of the composition to animate those further. It's almost like masking in After Effects. I think that's what I don't know what optical printer. I've heard it so many times and I never had the interest in looking it up. But I'm guessing that they're like it's much like masking. 100 millions people. Okay, well that's fine. That's not so bad. We'll try and get that number up. Yeah, so it ended up making this beautiful film. I really enjoyed it. Sound design or music maybe a little forgettable, but visually it was like, I don't know, just really interesting. When it gets you to think about stuff like that and make connections, I'd say it's successful. I don't think I want to do eyebrows in this drawing. I think it makes it kind of a little bit funnier. So we'll block that in. So I guess, okay, so I'll go back on what I said earlier. Some sections will have, I'll draw everything on the same layer, and then other sections, just like I did the rough. And then here's where I want to do that. I'll do the keyframes first, by the way, just so I'm not like, oh, I haven't finished this drawing yet. Hello. Just so I'm not spending so much time on a drawing, and then the next drawing I have to just like be in the same location with my pen, do the same drawing, pretty much. So I'll skip. Sometimes what I've done is I've gone from the beginning to the end and cleaned up like that, go back and forth, just so I don't have to see the same drawing over and over again. Yeah, so I guess that does it with dots, lines, and washes. What did I see next? I think, again, I started with, oh, hi, Jad. I started with shorts 2. Oh no, that's not true. History, Mystery, and Odyssey. This will be short. 6 Portland animators, just like a little. It was just a documentary. What did I like and what did I not like? I liked a lot of the I liked a lot of their early works that they showcase in the documentary. Very, very beautiful, very visually beautiful. They did a lot of music videos. Someone did a lot of music videos for Talking Heads, Tears for Fears, a bunch of artists around that time. So that was cool, but it ended up as it worked through their filmographies. They ended up just animating on a computer and animating in Flash. But you could the films that they showed when they were showing like, hey, this is what I'm doing now. They just seemed a little flat to me. Like, I think if you get this new tech, this is all I know, right? Flash is what I know. Doing stuff digitally is what I know. I don't do a lot of traditional physical stop motion, mixed media, stuff like that. But if that's what you know, I think, how should I put this? Don't learn it as your main work. Don't put those out as your finished works because you're learning. You are still learning. I think what they their mistake was, oh, I have this technology, I can do all this cool stuff, and when they show you what it was just like tweens and like really flat images. I don't know. They were making such beautiful. They like talked about, oh, I was inspired by the paintings of Vasily Kandinsky, like, and Miro, and you see these like Miro style. Let's do it. Let's do this pose, huh? This Miro style, these shapes, and it's like, yes, that's so Miro. Like, it's so beautiful, and they're like tactile, and you can see the pencil that she used. You can see the oil pastels or the chalk pastels, because these animators are so good at using these mediums. I don't think that stepping into Flash with such little heart compared to their physical, their mixed media works, I don't think it was a good idea. I think they showed it as if it was the same, as the same quality as their previous works. This is probably sounding rude, right? Obviously, these animators are very, very talented, and this is just showing how their work has progressed as the technology around them has progressed. And they've done really incredible things. I don't think that should be discounted at all, right? But it's just like, oh, okay, that was it. It's like, oh, okay. About as politely as I can say that. What else? Let's move on to, okay, shorts 2. These are the ones where I can go into the book and actually have a list of all the shorts that played. Did I see one? I never saw one. I never ended up seeing one. Okay, shorts 2. Let's do it. I mean, I can just go through all of these. I know all of them. I can remember all these films as I see them in the book. It starts with The Beatles, I'm Only Sleeping, a commissioned work by, I'm guessing, the Beatles estate, right? By M. Cooper from the UK, 3 minutes. And of course, all these are 2023 released, I think. Yeah. Great. The Beatles, I'm Only Sleeping. It looked visually really nice. Oh my gosh. I'm changing the volume. I don't want to do that. It looked visually really, really nice, right? It was, if I had to guess, it was oil? Oil on... Yeah, okay, so here's the thing. Throughout the runtime of the film, I'm like, this is probably oil paints, right? It looks like paints, and how the colors smeared together reminded me of oil. But I could tell that it was not on canvas or some sort of textured surface. I was like, I don't know what that is. Like, I thought maybe it was glass. It's very, what is this about? I think you'll have to be more specific. Oh, this is, overall, I'm talking about all the films that I saw at Ottawa International Animation Festival this year. I just got back 2 days ago. Come on, guy. Me and a bunch of animator friends went to go see the programming and do some networking and meet up with some old professors, because my college goes there every year, or they've tried to. I don't think through COVID they didn't, but yeah, that's what this is about. So okay, the Beatles one. What was I saying? It was another one of those films that was like the visuals just kind of morphed together which can be fun, right? I don't know. It was cool. It looked nice. I'm not going to say I'm the biggest Beatles fan, right? But what I didn't like about it was it seems like media like for the Beatles. It was just for one song that was playing. It was not like it wasn't. I don't think it was like a medley or anything. It was just for one song, but it seemed like since it was this is the Beatles, then all the Beatles have to be in it. Like it was less about the animation and less about the sound design, less about the filmmaking than it was about just the Beatles, just being the Beatles. Oh, here's Paul and he morphs into Ringo, like whatever, you know what I mean? It's a shame that like I think we can just. I want to separate for a second the music from the artist, which is, I mean, I know that's difficult, right? It's the Beatles. But yeah, but again, it was commissioned. So that's probably just, what the, whoever commissioned it's just what they wanted. And then after the animation ceased, it went into this filmed live action shot, and it was the director, who I saw several times throughout the festival. It was the director wiping the last frame off of this single sheet of acetate. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure it was just on one sheet of acetate, which reminds me of stop motion, because stop motion, reason why it's different than what I'm doing right now, is because you have one puppet. Maybe you'll have different puppets, but what you're left with, the thing that's in front of you at the end of your stop motion shot, after you're done animating your stop motion shot, is it's the last frame you shot. So you have performed, right? You have done a performance of animating. And that's what this reminded me of. It was the last shot, and the last frame, last drawing, and she wiped it off of this single sheet of acetate that she had taped to the table. It was very loving Vincent, but what it lacked was the that quality that Loving Vincent had, where a character would walk across a background and the background would change behind them. It would kind of flicker behind them, because it was all painted on one canvas, and they just painted in background over the character and then repainted the character that much further. So you get like a weird kind of trail effect, which I think was kind of interesting. But this film did not have something like that, because if that last shot was anything to go by, I think that she wiped the acetate after each painting, which is very impressive. That's a lot of work, and a lot of planning and awareness that you have to have. Probably shot in dragon frame. So you could see the previous frame, but you can't go back and edit it. You have to reshoot it. That's what I mean about it's a performance, and you're left with the last frame you've done, Okay, next one. Retour à Harry Hill, Return to the Harry Hill, Harry, that's Hairy. That's by Daniel Gless. He's from Canada. It was 18 minutes, and it was narrative. And it features the main character, Ethel, and it's in this, like, this snowy biome, right? And she's in her house. And there's this okay, well, actually, what should I talk about first? The narrative. Okay, let's do the narrative first. There's this humanoid, like, crow, right, in her attic. Oh, too far. And it's not evident yet, but that's Ethel's mother. She's this, like, giant crow, woman with the head of a, like, giant head of a crow, right? And her children have Ethel's children. They have no faces, and they're all very frightened of this character stepping down from the attic, walking down the stairs. They're very, very frightened. Ethel is comforting them and caring for them. And eventually the mother fully makes a transformation into a crow-sized crow, right? Almost as if I interpret it as if she was dying. It was this slow sickness that was consuming her and, like, fully transforming her into this animal. And you can probably interpret the animal as, like, a second life. She's being visited by this crow, right? And it represents her mother. Okay, that's, should I do something like this? Can I do that? So it leaves Ethel to care for the kids, right? But the kids are also turning into animals, but I don't think it's them dying. I think it's them, like, becoming their own people. But I don't know. That's kind of murky for me because Ethel the whole time is human and never makes a transformation. I don't know if that's saying that, hey, she's never found herself, or what. Maybe it's saying she's hopeless, like having to take on this responsibility all by herself, take care of her several kids. Maybe it's these kids are, like, forming their own identities, and she's mourning the loss of their previous ones the same way she mourned the loss of her mother's life. I don't know. It was I think narratively it was very, very beautiful. But not like a however. I'm saying, in addition, the art style was gorgeous, like, beautiful, and I'll be staying in this pose for a while, so I guess I'll do this. I'll do the second. I'll do the second frame in our 2-frame flicker that we want to do in this section. Yeah, it was gorgeous. The visual style. It was all in 3D, I think. But it was made out of paper. All the characters, these 3D models, were made out of folded paper. Like, it gave, like, this origami quality to it. Ethel's face, like the top half of her face, was like one sheet bent over, and then the bottom half, her jaw was like inserted underneath, and you could see the physicality of this paper and how it casted shadows on other pieces, and yeah, it was really gorgeous. Everything was like that, all like paper constructed within a 3D environment, like a CG environment. And the sound design, there's actually a funny story with the sound designer for this movie. After we got out of a film called Jelly that I'll talk about later, we step out of the gallery and we're like, hey, where is the shuttle to the animators picnic? We're all going to go to the animators picnic, give some business cards out, and network. And I'll make this kind of extreme. For a 2-frame flicker, that's kind of extreme. And they're like, yeah, the shuttle's not here yet, the bus isn't here yet, but it was just some woman. I didn't catch her name or like her title. She might have been working for the festival or what, but I'm not sure. But she's like, hey, we have a van, like we have like this little ass van, and we're going there, so you guys can hop in. It was 4 of us, 2 of our friends that went to go see Jelly, and me and my partner. Is that right? Yeah, 4 of us, and the sound designer for Return to the Hairy Hill. This film was in the front seat, and we were like, oh my god, that's so cool, like, no way you did. And he just like he just chatted with us about doing the sound design for this film, and he was so chill and like so knowledgeable, and he was talking about how not only was paper heavily used as sound design, it was exclusively used. They only used paper to make all of the sounds in this film. And you could. I should turn down this mic volume maybe. I mean, if you guys could have heard my saliva in my mouth this whole time, moving around, then that might be the end for me. I might just end it. Just kidding. Okay. Yeah, he was really cool. He's saying he had a bunch of. He just had stacks and stacks of different papers of different weights. And that's all he used for sound design for this. What was I saying? Yeah, so for sound design, I think all you really need is, like, you need to fill out the spectrum, and then that's pretty much it. You have good sound design. If you get a lot of bass frequencies and a lot of high frequencies, you could make any noise you wanted with enough layering and manipulating and chopping. Maybe it's funny maybe it works better if, like, the tips of this hair stayed in, like, roughly the same place because they have less momentum. Ooh, it's going kind of long. I don't know. We'll see if I get all the cleanup done in this stream. Maybe I'll just... Yeah, maybe I just keep it going while I eat lunch or whatever. In a little bit. I'll definitely go for like another hour or so. I'm thinking these hairs will kind of straighten out. Yeah, House on Harry Hill. Return to Harry Hill. Very good. Footprint Shop by Gina Kaminsky. United States. 3-minute 50. Non-narrative. Gina Kaminsky was one of my professors in college. She was so cool. She was like, you know, she taught me a lot. She was no BS. Told it exactly how it was. Yeah, she was awesome. And this one, it featured a conversation with her mother that she recorded, and she's big on sound design. That was like her big thing. That's all she would talk to us about pretty much. In what class was it? It was sophomore seminar, like semester 2, right? And that was our first like film by ourselves. Semester 1 was all pre-production. Semester 2 was production, and we had different professors for each semester. And she would always talk about sound design. And she she introduced me to like my oh my god, I'm going crazy. I have to slow down. She showed us a bunch of really cool films. A lot of them have influenced me to this day. Namely, The Big Snit by Richard Condy, Canadian animator. That was like, in terms of timing, that was like such a huge influence when I did my junior film, which I don't really like to talk about. I didn't have a great time making it. I wish it came out a little better. But it was huge. Yeah, it was huge for me. And then another one, it was called Bugo Gabi Gadongo, I think. Peter something. And I mean, talk about sound design. It was just insane. It was like the animations were reacting to the sound design. It was like sound design was first. It was strong. It was so strong. Anyway, Footprint Shop. It features mostly her feet, which I know, right? But I had to pay a lot for this pass, so she's not handing it out for free. That's for sure. And it's her in a litho print shop making footprints. I think it's kind of a fun play. Like, we know what a footprint is, right? You go to the beach, you make a footprint. But these are like professional, artistic prints, like print making, like the actual art form of printmaking, and she's just using it to make these humble footprints. And the conversation with her mom was talking about how, oh, you've always had wide feet, and the doctors, said you wouldn't walk correctly and that they wouldn't straighten out, but we recommend doing massages. And so the mother would massage Gina's feet as a baby, like every day, just so like clockwork, like a full-time job, and lo and behold, they straightened out, right? It's about labor. It's about iteration, constantly massaging the feet, constantly cranking out footprints, right, on paper. And how she must have done it. I mean, there were shots of like her on these litho stones, It was like stop motion, mostly the whole thing, but it was featuring her as the puppet, right? So she'd be on these litho stones, and she'd, step on one, take a picture, step off, put another stone on, step on those two stones, take a picture, step off, like grow, shrink, um, translate. Really neat and heartfelt, I think. Um, how is this? I think that'll be fine if we like flicker that. Maybe I have to warp those. Maybe I have to warp it like this. Or just reposition it. If I do this, what happens? I have to color these in so I know what I'm doing, what I'm seeing. So if I like bear down and I like flicker, back and forth. Please. I think quickly enough, I think that should look fine. Onion skin back on. Yeah, Footprint Shop I liked. Footprint Shop was really good. I think I want this cheek to come in because it's going to be getting swallowed by, as I turn, it should be like disappearing over the horizon of my face. Footprint Shop, great. Psychopaths, whatever. Psychopaths was whatever. It was kind of cool. It was like, there wasn't a lot of original animation. It looks like he just kind of got some models off of Turbo Squid and with some stock animations. But just these, like, me and my friends were all like sick of hearing this sound design. It was so uninspired. Like this it was always like a low drone. For some reason, Ottawa, the jury at Ottawa just let in all these films that had these low droning soundscapes and with an intermittent loud explosion or something. I don't know. It seems. Oh. Get a call. I have to. I'm doing something else. Yeah, seems kind of uninspired to me. Like, might be using that word too much, but maybe that's. My vocabulary is uninspired. This was Anton Kla, or like Cha or something, I don't know, from Belgium, 12 minutes. It was a student film. Yeah, it was cool. It was fun. I want to talk about The Miracle, but I also got a freaking pee, so I'm gonna mute my mic. Maybe I'll just let it. I always lose track of my cursor because I have OBS open, right? Okay, I am back. All right, The Miracle. The Miracle was great. It was really really nice. It features. So The Miracle is the name of this resort that Ilma, I believe, goes to. Oh, the film was by Ninka Duits or Deutz, Ninka Deutz, Belgium, Netherlands, France. Actually, I don't know what that means. Maybe that just means like the artists that contributed to this film were from all these places. So, yeah, Ilma goes to The Miracle on vacation by herself, and she seems to be. Oh, that's too much. I think this has to be on twos. Fun way to do that. It's gonna mess up my mess up the whole this layer, but hit Control or Command and stretch it out. Wait, how many of these do I have? All right, from 91 to 96, I have 6 here. So I want to. Okay, well, I'll just have to do it to that. Great. Oh, you know what the problem is? This line here is too... Oh, and I didn't finish doing... Come on, guy. What am I doing? I want to talk about The Miracle. I can't get my thoughts together. So she seems like seems to be inundated with like pregnant women, right? And the medium that this was made with, the mixed media, actually like has a part in the plot. So what I think they did was animate the characters digitally in something like Toon Boom or whatever, print out those black ink digital drawings onto some transparent acetate, and then cut those out with scissors, paint like her swimsuit, right? Paint it yellow directly onto the acetate, so it gave this kind of like flickery, painterly quality. You could see how it interacted with the slick surface of the plastic, and then there were other stop motion elements. Yeah, so the reason why it has such a big part of the plot is Ilma is seeing all these pregnant women, and she's discovering that they're pregnant by like she'll go underwater or something, and the swimsuit of a pregnant woman would like disappear, and you'd see like this little plastic baby maquette just like floating within, like inside her. And every time Ilma would see this, it would like freak her out. They call it the miracle, right? That's like, oh, our little miracle. So I'm interpreting it as like maybe she is infertile, or she's had several miscarriages, or some sort of birth-oriented trauma. Let me just copy these and see if that made a difference. I'm not sure if I enjoy. If I do this again and make it on 3s, maybe that could be interesting. Like it slows down. And I want to bring this up a little. But yeah, it was like it was very narrative heavy. There was actually dialogue. I think everything about it was really nice. That was the only shorts block that I went to on its first screening, which allowed you to vote on a ballot for your favorite of that block, and I voted for that one. Not my professor's one, unfortunately, but Miracle, I think, was just, everything about it was so well done and so well executed. I want to blast through some of these that I wasn't actually, that one was, okay. Maybe I don't do every single one, huh? Maybe I just highlights and lowlights. Pipes was a highlight. Pipes was this homoerotic comedy. Very, very short. Actually, it was 4 minutes. Switzerland. Student film. Bob the plumber is hired to fix a broken pipe in a gay fetish club, and Bob is constantly like, it's so very sexual, and Bob is like getting very overwhelmed. He's overwhelmed by all the nipples and penises that he's seeing, right? And it's too much for him. It's too much for him, and he has to fix this pipe. It's like right in the middle of the gay bar. It's like leaking, and then eventually he, after being like overwhelmed by all these naked men, right? All this imagery, he's like, oh, I know what to do. He like plugs up he's plugging up the holes with sex toys and like ball gags, and yep, there it is. I fixed it, you know. Very funny. I would, if any of these films come out, I would recommend you go see them. La Fille au Beret Rouge, the girl with the red beret, which I think I pronounced perfectly. That was fun. Very, very digital looking, very flat, but still very charming. It read like a student film, but wait, Janet Perlman. Oh, I know Janet Perlman. Yeah, it was nice. I like that one. What did I see next? I got my book out. I have the ones that I saw highlit. Day 2. Ooh, Nitz Island. Nitz Island was awesome. So Nitz Island, can I find the write-up for it? Nitz Island was so sick. Feature film competition, Nitz Island, great. There is absolutely no way I'm pronouncing this dude's name. Quentin Lelgulak? I don't know. Akeem Barbier, Guilhelm Kause, I don't know. 95 minutes. And what it was, can I see what game this was? It was DayZ. The game was DayZ. I ran it by some of my friends who hadn't seen it, and they're like, yeah, that sounds like Rust. But I don't know. Okay, so what it was an honest to God documentary within a video game, within like an MMO, and it these filmmakers, as their characters in game, went around to different factions in the game and interviewed them. And it was just so interesting. At first, I was like, okay, this is kind of bizarre. I don't know if this is like, what's it doing in an animation festival? This looks like a machinima. This looks like using a pre-existing game to make an animation. I thought it was narrative at first. I went into it with nothing. And I was just so pleasantly surprised. It's a real ass documentary. You know what I mean? It's for real. These three dudes were in DayZ filmmaking as if they were filmmaking in real life. They would arrange meetings with these factions. Hey, can I meet you at your house? And they'd show up. Sometimes they'd show up at the house, and the people within the game were like, "Hey, you remember these guys?" Like I don't know. It just felt so real. Like you forget that they're in a video game at some point. And you almost can't critique the animation or the sound design, right? It's not about that. It's a documentary made in a pre-animated world. So none of these animations are original. None of the walk animations, the idle animations. This is all done by somebody else. Somebody else did the sound design. Somebody else did, all the visuals, all the textures. But these people seriously went out and did legitimate interviews, and you follow several different groups of people. Whoa! What happened? That's cool. Yeah, and there's this theme of social conditioning. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's a weird way to describe it, but they'd always ask these people, one of the factions was kind of cringy, right? And they're we just love destruction and we just kill people. We love killing people. And they thought themselves like mafiosos, and they loved to role play like that, And they'd ask this woman who's leading this group of people, why are you like this? Why do you like to kill people? Why are you killing these zombies? They for a long time in the film they didn't mention that it was a game. They just they treated it as if it was real people within a real situation. And they're like, why are you killing these zombies? And they're like, oh, I don't know. It's always been like this, That was their answer, but I thought that was just so interesting. But then later they interviewed this couple, and that was just so sweet. And there was this fun moment where they were the filmmakers were in the back of their car, and the couple was in the front seats. The husband was driving, and the wife was in the passenger seat. And they're like, hey, this is kind of funny. We're in this car, in the game, but in real life, we're both on laptops on this really tiny desk, and we're sitting about the same distance apart as we are in the game. It's like we're actually, going on a road trip together. But they were like maybe on the opposite end of the spectrum of like people who, and that's when the kind of wall went down in the documentary. Like it was people who were fully aware that they were in a game. And that's when the filmmakers were asking, how long have you been playing this game? Like talking to the people rather than the character. And then there was this journey where a lot of the people that they've talked to throughout the documentary were they got them all together, and they did this. I don't know if you've seen like Minecraft. If you go, I don't know what it's infinitely generated, right? But if you go so far out to like the far lands, then the game starts glitching and stuff starts acting really weird. They did something like that in DayZ, where they all went on this trek, this hike, to find something similar within that game. Ooh, I have to plug in my phone. Ah, darn. Unable to go live. Internet error. What the heck? Did this stream? It's still streaming. What do you mean internet error? Go live again. I have to do effects again. I have to do the green screen one with the image so that I can put this one. Green screen sticker. Oh, that's gonna suck. Can I move this? Where was I? Nitz Island. Oh yeah, they like go on this big trek and then it starts becoming real again. Like the environment becomes real, and the players start becoming their characters again. And they're like, oh no, so and so died. Like we're like, maybe he's got altitude sickness, and it just kind of like blends seamlessly through those two modes of like self-awareness and like earnest role playing. We both really liked Nitz Island. I thought it was so sick. DayZ Sandbox. Yeah. Okay. I thought like, oh, is it just gonna be like at some points it felt like a Let's Play, right? But let's. Okay. Oh, we saw Inuo. Inuo was so cool. Masaki Yuasa was the guest of honor this year. My friend got to meet him several times, which was so cool. He was such a cool guy. And before we saw Inuo, before Inuo started, he gets up and he was in the theater with his translator, and he says he has this point that okay, backstory. Inuo is like this rock opera that like is an interesting take on like ancient Japanese folklore and folk songs and folk music, where they tell the story of these like they would tell these traditional stories through song, but Tomoari, um, he goes blind as a kid because they found this sword that has Heike. Ah, man, I forget. But they're like diving and looking for Heike treasures, and they get essentially commissioned to go find this one specific sword, and they find it, and they unsheath it. His dad unsheaths it, cuts the dad in half, and it blinds Tomoari. I think that's his name. Um, and so Tomoari becomes this one of those storytellers, but he does it through like a rock opera. Really, really neat. Oh, but what Yuasa said before the film started was he says people have this image that Jimi Hendrix was the first person to play a guitar behind his back, and he does the motion. But actually, if you look back far enough, basically, as long as there were guitars, people were playing them behind their back. In other words, like, as long as there have been these instruments, people have been looking for interesting or subversive ways of performing them. Yeah. It was really cool. It was, so we saw, like, the backstory of how Tomoari went blind. But then we also see, like, these vignettes of, like, this really deformed baby being birthed. Like, very physically deformed. And I think we find out later that this is a result of the greed of the father wanting to find more stories to tell, more original stories, Heike stories, to set his performance collective apart from the rest, I guess. I don't know. And so he like makes this deal, and it's like, well, you must I forget what entity is making this deal with him. I guess the devil. I don't know. I forget, dude. I didn't really have many calories inside me when I was watching a lot of these films, so my brain wasn't working at its full capacity. So, you know, what else? Yeah. So, as this creature, basically this humanoid creature, grows up, he has to be hidden behind a mask made out of a gourd, which you also actually drew inside my friend's Ottawa book. Really cool. Anyway, he has this gourd mask on. He's not supposed to take it off, and he kind of like scurries around. He has no legs, but he has one long arm, and every time he does a dance, this traditional dance for the these Heike stories, he gains some semblance of having like a quote normal body, right? Like a fully abled body. So he has this like wicked long arm. First he gains the legs, and then he has to, he does more of these dances, and like he gains his second hand grows to a usable size, and he's doing all these performances, and you get to see him like build himself That should be on a 4. Yeah, and obviously it's Yuasa, so like just visually there's so much to sink your teeth into, even if you're like not following the narrative perfectly. Um, what else? I feel like I have a lot to say about this, but at the same time I don't. Let me look up the writing about it. Is it over here? I don't think it wasn't part of the competitions. It was just special screenings because these movies are out already. So maybe you know what? Maybe I don't have to talk about Yuasa's too much, but they were very, very beautiful. Especially maybe I just jump around here. Especially Mind Game, that was gorgeous. I have to watch it again. Compared to Inuo, it's like the more it's like an unabashed comedy, but it was still like a lot of themes about under and overstimulation and like what people need to thrive, really. I guess maybe Inuo is not even written up in here because it's not it's already out. Special screenings? Oh, yes, okay. No? I'm not seeing Inuo in here. Oh, wait. Inuo. How about I just read this? This probably says it better than I can. Yuasa's most recent feature, Inuo 2022, also brings music to the forefront of what must be his most unconventional film. Part history of a forgotten no performer, the mysterious Inuo, a part Hedwig and the Angry Inch. What? Part Hedwig and the Angry Inch, Inuo is a riveting and unique experience, especially when audiences are energetically involved, dancing and stomping, while waving their glow sticks to the rhythm of each song, as they did during the screening at the 2022 Hiroshima Animation Festival. Watch Inuo. That's what I have to say. Mind Game was cool. He also has a film called Lou Over the Wall that I didn't watch, but all the... Oh, no way. I forgot to hit go live on TikTok. But everything that... all the books and stuff, they all wrote Lou Over the Garden Wall. Like, I can read it, right? Like, it's like a typo or something. So whoever did that probably got a talking to, I bet. Okay. Maybe I'll do it in between right here because I want to do something else right now. And I'll just go straight to cleanup for this. What do I see next? Okay. And then after that, the next day was Art and Biz, and we saw a talk with Chris Wimberly from Smokescreen, former Disney alum. Talked about creating his own studio and like how he broke in and everything. Okay. Here we go. Jelly. Nelvana, a special Nelvana screening created by Robin Budd, known for his Hotel Transylvania 2D show. He won an Emmy for Beetlejuice, the animated show, the animated series. And he gets up in front of the stage before the screen, and he says, "This is my swan song to animation. It's my swan song. It's my last foray into animation." So it's this big thing, and it's probably like it gets a 2-page spread, and all of us were hyped about it. What is Jelly? Jelly looks cool. I like watching Jelly on screen if it's animated. It's all like wibbly wobbly stuff. I love that. Jelly is forgive my language. Jelly is a dog shit film. I am so sorry. It is the worst. Definitely the worst thing I saw there. Jelly was just so soulless, and it took the easy way out almost every time, which is like such a slap in the face to like, you know, the people who want to be in this industry and want to do indie short film. Yeah, it's bad. Jelly was not good, dude. So what happened in Jelly? It was, let's see. Okay. So Jelly, he had to come up and clarify what the names of these characters were, Molly and Jelly, because it's never mentioned once, because it's a film with no dialogue, right? Which is fine. I saw a bunch of beautiful films with no dialogue at Ottawa 2023. But instead of just choosing to go no dialogue, they did this stupid thing where she speaks gibberish. She speaks like Simlish. And garbage. It was so bad. And she does these stupid little who? Like stupid little like vocalizations, and like it felt like, I don't know, dude. There was nothing good about it. And so the whole plot is like she works at a mannequin factory painting the makeup on all the faces of the mannequins, which I do not see mannequins with like painted faces anymore. They're always just white heads or solid color heads. It's like, I don't know. That seems like not a very accessible, I don't know, dude. Look right here. I'm just like approximating where this hair is going to be. This is like, it's just an in-between after all. And maybe I do want to move on from this project on stream. So maybe I just work on it off stream. We'll see. Yeah, the animation was soulless. It was flat. I don't think I'm peeking here. Maybe I should turn this down. Yeah, absolutely soulless. The character design was subpar. Just skinny fucking, white people. It's like a white girl with bangs and black hair, and she's like she's like she's sick of her job. She hates it, and then one day she decides to get a little more creative with the makeup on the mannequins, because it's this like factory, this like robotic thing that she's doing, and she goes crazy with all the hair on the mannequins, and then she gets like, I don't know if she gets fired or there's a talking to, whatever, but yeah, it doesn't go appreciated. It is not appreciated by the boss. And then frickin' Jelly shows up. Jelly just like shows up. I don't know. She's in her apartment and Jelly shows up, and this is okay. So here's a reason why gibberish is not, never do gibberish for your animated film, or if you do it, at least don't make this mistake, because this was ridiculous. Molly gets so scared by Jelly breaking into her house, infiltrating her house through the drain. Jelly is this like black ooze, right? And he can take the shape of whatever, and I guess she's like a sculptor, and for some reason she can't work clay, and the clay always just falls because she's like inept at sculpting, I guess. And Jelly can take this shape, and that's why they like make this bond, because she can never make these shapes by herself. So, where am I? Yeah, Jelly is not animated very well, and I'm a fan of like ugly animation, right? But when everything is just so flat and so like, again, uninspired, right? It just sticks out. I mean, like, some parts were like so fluid, right? You can have fluid animation, but it can still suck. It can still suck like crazy bad. And like Jelly, I was expecting it to be like all on ones and like this beautiful fluid animation. I mean, like like an animation of a fluid, not that it is fluid, which I expect it to be anyway. But he was like so like, I don't know, dude. He was so like snappy, like Johnny Test, and again, I don't. If you like Robin Budd, then sure, right? That's fine. Don't listen to me. But nobody liked it in my in the group that went to go see it. Nobody liked it. It was like so empty. Oh my God, okay. She picks up the phone, right? Jelly infiltrates her house. She picks up the phone, and she dials a number. We don't see what it is. It could be 911. It could be like her friend at work. And she just goes like, and then they like hang up on her. So like nothing happened. She's not calling the cops. Like, she did not even have to pick up the phone. She could just still be scared in her apartment with Jelly. But they still have to do this stupid, like, if she's picking up the phone, she's got to have some dialogue. I think. What's the point if you know you're going to have like this no dialogue, little like little voice acting, vocalizations. If you know you're going to do that, don't put a scene in where she's picking up a phone and then now has to talk to somebody, because you're going to write stupid little gibberish in there and it's going to sound like garbage. It makes absolutely no sense. And then at the end, she's finally broken free from the shackles of her job, and she can like paint a mural or whatever. But it's just so empty and so like, I don't know. Nothing about it. It was overproduced, I think was a big problem. It was so overproduced that it became just flat, just like a nothing burger. And then, he gets up, Robin Budd gets up and talks to the audience and answers questions. And it seems like the answer to most of the questions, hey, why'd you do this way? Why did you do gibberish? And the answer always seemed to be like, well, it was too hard to do the other thing, so we wanted to do it this way, but it was too hard, so we picked the easier way. That was so disappointing to me. It's like, you couldn't, I mean, they're bad decisions, right? I don't like them, but you couldn't at least just own them? Like, how many concessions did you make, like, in the story? Sorry, I'm not even drawing right now, but just, look, here's this. I'm not even drawing right now, but I have to say what I'm saying. How many concessions can you make? Why does your story have to bow to your lack of skills or your lack of motivation? It's like, you are making the movie. Like, maybe if it was under time crunch, that makes sense. Oh, it was too difficult. There's a difference between being economical and being and just like surrendering your creativity to your limitations. Yeah, it was just so disappointing. Definitely either don't watch it or watch it because you're like morbidly curious to see how bad it was. But that was absolutely the worst and just like so bad. Like, we saw some pretty crummy films, right? Some pretty crummy shorts. But this was just like, I don't know. It wasn't a feature. I thought it was going to be a feature. It was just a screening, just a special screening. They take up a 2-page spread in the book. I mean, they used up all their ink. It was printed on black. I mean, it's like, and they used this in all the typography surrounding everything. Was just so like played. They used like that comic font. Like first thing we saw it, like my girlfriend leans over and says, love that font, like sarcastically, right? Like, yeah, like, well, you could have picked anything. It could have been hand drawn. It could have been more designed. But they picked this like stupid, like stock comic book font to surround, and like this art actually looks kind of cool. The art that they used for the spread looks so interesting, and there's like dry brushing, and her hair looks wet, and there's a lot of really good inking, but the actual animation is just so like so symbol-y and so tweeny. Like, I don't know, dude. He got one laugh out of me, and that was when I could keep going, and that was when the boss, like one of her cronies, she had like one little crony, and he like walked funny once, and that was like all the enjoyment I got out of that film. Everything else was just so flat and just so nothing, and they made it very clear that they didn't really care about what it looked like. Your swan song to animation, I don't know, dude. It just, and he had no real answers to any of the questions. Very disappointing. What was next? Next was Animator's Picnic. That was fine. Then we saw, that was cool. I met some really cool people. We talked more to the guy who did the sound design for Harry Hill. I talked to somebody who did another Adult Swim Smalls. If you saw Little Edie, talked to the guy who made those. Maybe not successfully. I think I was like stumbling over my words because I was a little like starstruck isn't the word, but that was kind of the only conversation I had to like initiate. I wanted to say hi to him. Hey, I did Buster and TJ. We aired in the same block. Really good to meet you. But then I just kind of froze, and he ended up asking most of the questions to maintain the conversation, which was unfortunate because then I go to the animation expose the next day, and I like learn like, oh shoot, like that's how I should have approached that conversation. What if like those questions like what have you learned? What's your favorite thing you've seen at the festival so far? What have you worked on? Like that's what I should have been asking. Anyway, I'm kicking myself for that, but hopefully he didn't think I was too weird. And then Unicorn Boy. Unicorn Boy was great. I love Unicorn Boy. That was it was so it wasn't visually perfect. It wasn't. It was like some parts were very, very beautifully animated and rendered, and then other parts were maybe not. But you can tell every single shot and every single. Let me start working again. What is this? What happened? Okay, and every single composition was just so full of heart. It was very, very beautiful. I'm going to skip to like over here, I think. So we follow, the filmmaker is the main character and does all the voice acting. So, and we saw them and two of their friends that were also in the film and had a hand in making the film. So it was Matty Keel, who created the film and voiced themselves, and their friend Seth Word, who also voiced himself, and Nancy, who voiced herself. It was autobiographical, and it was about. There was a lot of things. This was definitely not somebody who was in a very stable mindset over the events of. I should lock all of these layers actually. Over the events of this film, they were going through a very severe and emotional breakup, while also discovering themselves, coming out as a non-binary person. It shows like at the beginning, here's Matt Keel, he, him, right, and then later Matty Keel, they, them. Like it shows like two different people, right? Same person, two different people introducing this film. So I guess in the beginning of the film, I think he, him was the proper pronouns, but either way, so they went through this breakup and they're like wicked depressed, and they get like sucked into this dimension, this unicorn dimension, and the unicorn that is bringing them along on his back is like constantly is puking rainbows, like constantly, right? Ooh, I'm actually like. I'm actually blanking a little bit. Yeah, okay, so we meet this unicorn. The unicorn is actually Prince Purpleton. We meet this unicorn's parents, this royalty, right, of this kingdom, voiced by Patton Oswalt and Maria Bamford, which was really neat. They did a really good job, and I think they were really perfect for those roles. And they're very strict to Prince Purpleton, the small unicorn. Always saying, like, don't bring him in here. He throws up everywhere and he stains the curtains, and just he's not allowed here. Like, you can't keep throwing up, and just keep, like, wipe your feet. Like, stop getting the rainbows everywhere, right? I mean, like, a pretty on the nose analog for that classic homophobic rhetoric that's like, hey, I don't care what you do behind closed doors. I just don't want to see it, right? Just keep it hidden. That's kind of a theme throughout the whole thing. And it's just such a beautiful, like, kingdom, right? And Maddie's constantly trying to, in the midst of their depression, they're constantly trying to re-enter this kingdom, but cannot do it. It was some sort of euphoria that they've experienced and can no longer access. And meanwhile, we see Maddie, like, constantly calling Violet's phone. Violet is, like, this person that they have broken up with. Constantly calling Violet's phone, and leaving messages, and just very, very unstable, right? This is not, like, this is not a stable person. This is somebody who does need help. And so they seek out the expertise of some kind of hippy-dippy yoga instructors. How do I, because he goes to some yoga, he sees somebody there with a unicorn horn, and he's like, how do I get that? Like, are you from the unicorn place? Like, how do I get that? Like, I need to get back to them. And he through these yoga practices and this breathing, they are able to access this realm again, and they have to they're trying to save this realm from this giant unicorn, and I do need to have some background music in the stream, by the way, because it's a lot of dead air. I'm realizing, because I'm just blanking a lot. But yeah, there's this giant hellfire unicorn that's gonna trample the town or whatever. And Maddie's like, no, we have to save this town. We have to save this kingdom. And the king and queen don't believe them. They think that all those giant footprints are just put there by Prince Purpleton, because he's trying to get people to believe in this delusion, if they say it's a delusion. I think the resolution for that was, let your freak flag fly. They say that a bunch. Because the king and queen, everybody barfs rainbows or pukes up these little fairies or something, right? And they're constantly under the rule of this strict queen, they're constantly trying to suppress that. Because why? Because it's like because it gets everywhere. Because what they think it's unsightly. Like it's not. They just kind of they're doing what they're told, right? Then dude, I'm sorry if you're hearing those. If you're hearing me swallow and gulp, but I have to. I gotta do what I gotta do. Maybe I gotta get a new mic, or hook my current one up in some way. I gotta figure that out. But yeah, they end up releasing this like all this pent up puke and the puke is like the sense of self, right? They're like hiding themselves, but then when they finally let themselves puke, then that's what I guess resolves the situation. I don't know. I'm kind of like blanking on it. The Land of Inhorning is what it's called. Yeah. Yeah, Unicorn Boy was cool. I enjoyed it. I don't think I saw... Oh, yeah, When Adam Changes. When Adam Changes was my favorite feature of Ottawa. And I think it won Best Feature as well. I don't know if that was a consensus of the group that I was with, but I loved When Adam Changes. It was... I don't want to say a coming-of-age story, but kind of, right? It follows Adam, who's constantly getting bullied, be it by his grandmother or the bully at school or the landscaper who's like showing him how to use a lawnmower. Constantly being bullied, and they're constantly pointing out his insecurities. And every time one of these insecurities is pointed out, it becomes physically visible on him. Like, let's say, oh, you have such a hunchback. He'll get more of a hunchback, and his neck will get longer, right? Or like, they'll say like, oh, you've got like, this is all in French, by the way. It's by Joel Vaudreuil, I think, French with English subtitles. And they'll say like, oh, you have boobs or whatever, and his boobs will get bigger, his shirt gets smaller. They say, oh, that shirt doesn't fit you. It gets physically smaller. And it starts with, like, his grandmother saying all these things to him while she was alive. And she dies really quickly in the film. And they have to go to the funeral and everything. And he has to say stuff. He has to say, like, a eulogy. What else? Yeah, so it kind of has like a King of the Hill vibe. It's very like deadpan and it's kind of slice of life of this like French town or Canadian town. Not sure. Quebec, set in a Quebec town, so they're in Quebec. And it's definitely one of those, like, I thought the setting was kind of a character in itself for me. Like, I felt like I could just live in that town forever. Like, I could just, I don't know if anybody else gets this, but yeah, maybe you do. Like, when you watch The Office, right, you just, you get to know the place as much as you get to know the characters. Like, people make 3D renderings of here's the entire office, even though like maybe at the time the floor plan wasn't released. People just like they enjoy the space as much as the characters. They like to explore it. They like to know it. Um, so that's what stuck out for me. Like just the world building. They have the school. They have the bleachers. They have Kevin Boudreau's house, which Adam is looking after and feeding the cat, and the cat has no legs, and it's like the world building is so incredible. I want to talk about the resolution. So towards the end, right, all of these deformities, or these like manifestations of his insecurities they're stacking. So he has the big boobs from earlier in the movie. His neck is longer from earlier in the movie. His arms, someone said, hey, your arms are so long, whatever, right? And they get longer, like freakishly long, like a gibbon. And then he, after this party that he throws at this house that he should be looking after, he like leaves. He's like, I'm done with this. Like everyone is just like, nobody is nice to me. Everything sucks. Shoot. Yeah, he leaves, right, with all these deformities, and the kid that walks around carrying a large metal pipe, dragging it against the ground. The kid that he disfigured by suddenly becoming so fat on the seesaw that it launches the kid into the air, hits his head, and then Adam tries to help him, but then he smashes the seesaw directly into his face. So this little kid is like permanently disfigured. So the kid is like using this metal pipe, and he's trying to get dog shit bags out of a tree. Because I guess somebody's been chucking you see it earlier on, someone's been chucking their dog's poop up into this tree for some reason when the trash can's right there. So this kid, all he wants to do is just get this dog shit out of the tree. And then this is the moment where Adam actually uses these deformities that he's collected over the course of the film from people pointing out his insecurities, right? The whole time I'm thinking, okay, so this is it's just body dysmorphia, right? This is how Adam is seeing himself. Which could have been true, but then at the end he actually uses the real, his arms are longer, and he uses them to reach the trees, reach the dog poop bags, and the kid's like, oh yeah, like thank you, like get that one right there, like he's like so stoked to get these bags out of the tree. Finally somebody can help him get these bags out of the tree. And then even then I thought like, okay, so maybe Adam is going to see how stoked this kid is, and maybe his body will go back to normal, right? Quote normal, because he's not seeing himself as this freakish monster anymore. He's seeing himself, hey, I got long arms, but someone sees that they're helpful. Someone appreciates my long arms, so like I'm no longer dysmorphic about them. I'm accepting them. Is what I'm trying to say. But he doesn't. He never does transmogrify back to normal. The magic, actually, the filmmaker, he called it a cheap magic. He just enjoyed like the immediacy of those changes being applied to him. this cheap magic, it never reverses. So I think ultimately Adam accepts how he looks. But yeah, I think a few of the people in my group wanted there to be a little bit more resolution. Oh, how did it end with the girl with Jian? Like, I don't know. That's, to me, that's a little unnecessary. Like, I feel like it told its story well, and I don't think there was much room for that. I definitely thought that there was going to be some sort of visual representation of that, like, body acceptance that we saw happen. But even then, it's like maybe that doesn't need it. Maybe that's not necessary. I feel like I'm like stumbling over my words a little bit. I think I should be doing this a little more often. Okay, is this? Yeah, those are one drawing. Maybe I cut it short. Yeah, I thought I could just keep going for hours, but it is kind of exhausting talking like this constantly. And I still have more stuff to talk about that I saw at Ottawa, but actually I made it up to day 3. And I didn't see much on day 4. What did I see? Yeah, day 4 was our museum day. We went to the museum. We saw Louise Bourgeois. That was like the main highlight. We needed to go see Mama, the big spider. If you know Louise Bourgeois, you probably know those spider statues. They're very iconic. So we saw that. And that was what we saw that day. But we did see short film 3. What was there? We saw 3, 4, and 5. Pretty close to each other. 3, what was there? World to Rome. Honestly, 3 was not great, except there's one called One Love from Russia, and there's one called Electra from the Czech Republic. Electra, so that one's 10 minutes and 26 minutes, respectively. I want to talk more about Electra, I think. One Love was good. Most of Shorts 3 was kind of stinkers, but Herzog's Chicken was like 55 seconds. It was just a clip of Werner Herzog talking about a chicken, and they just, I don't know, it was stupid. It was like a drawing of a chicken. Whatever, no big deal. Electra has to deal with sexual assault and sexual trauma, and like accepting the trauma. It frames it in the beginning like it was my 10th birthday, and my mom did up my makeup, and I thought I was the most beautiful girl in the world, and I loved it. My mom has all these beauty products and whatever, blah blah blah, right? Paints the mom as kind of like a plastic surgery obsessed person, vain, but later we understand that some male figure, probably her father, sexually abused her, unfortunately, and there's a lot of dentistry imagery. I think I'm reading that as like when you're in a dentist chair, you kind of can't move. There's stuff in your mouth. You don't, like, you really shouldn't move. So it's like this restraint. It's a little dark, but there's a lot of mannequins imagery. They did stop motion with full-size ball joint mannequins with like a rubber skin, so maybe closer to like a real doll, sex doll. it was really really heavy. And then she does that monologue again at the end. It was my 10th birthday, and my mother did my makeup, but she adds details that were omitted the first time. She My mother did my makeup to hide the black eye, and she did it in such a way that it was perfectly hidden, and she was so good, and I felt so beautiful, right? I no longer had this black eye. So it was really, I mean, it was difficult. That one was at Con, I believe. Electra rethinks her 10th birthday, mixing memories with dreams and hidden fantasies. So there's a lot of trauma. She's getting it confused. She's not fully understanding what went on her 10th birthday until recently. Yeah, very, very heavy, but beautifully done. There was my partner pointed out, when she's on the train, all the women look like her mom and all the men look like her dad, or is wearing like this white shirt like her dad. Probably for me, when you have such a, I can't speak to this because I've never experienced this trauma, this type of trauma ever. But I can imagine that it would stick with her in such a way that you would have resentment towards men as a whole. So you're seeing a lot of men like the one man that should have protected you, the one man that all kids have a model of, their father figure. Not all kids, right? You know what I mean? Most kids are like, this is the only man that I know. My mom is the only woman that I know. Adult women, right? They're the models of what you think adult men and women should be. Again, speaking in a binary, right? Yeah, so she's seeing all these people as her mom and dad, because they are embroiled in such trauma. There was one that played in this block called Aleph, which I wasn't super keen on. I think it was done all digitally, done reductively and additively, by using probably just the brush tool like this in these hatching lines, and then taking the eraser tool, and you see that that very digital point, you know. And it seemed really interesting. It was another one of those ones where the kind of image just morphs into each other, but visually it was interesting. But as a whole, I think it was a little too much, a little too one note. It had that classic Ottawa sound design of slow droning noise, and it was really really loud and off-putting, and not sure. Yeah, that one wasn't so great. Let's just go to 4 and 5, I guess. I do want to wrap it up. 4 and 5. What did I like? A Bear Named Jesus was really fun. I'm not even animating at this point. I'm not even doing any work. Goodness me. Okay. What can I do that's let me do the slow in here, so I'm not I don't know, not focusing too hard. I can just trace pretty much. Bear Named Jesus was cool, by Terrell Calder, Canada. About religion, about missionaries, conversion, indigenous erasure, I think. A Bear Named Jesus. He's yeah, it's like a stop motion. Pretty neat. Not visually perfect, but very very charming. What else? Eva was cool. I think that won best. What did that win? Best. I think that won best short. Yeah, Eva was cool. Let's go to okay. Shorts 5. I want to rip through it. Entre dans la poitrine. A crab in the pool. That's. I mean. I don't know how to pronounce that. But it was about breast cancer, and the little brother in this film had this really interesting thing that he remembered his mother by. He would like put up his glasses, and the transitions were so cool. Like he put up his glasses, right? It was like his hands around his eyes, and the sister, I guess, out of frustration, slapped her brother, and he's like, "You broke them. They don't work anymore." And then it just like transitioned into the next scene, the next vignette. The sister was very distraught about her mother's passing, and also having to process like possibly having breast cancer herself. I enjoyed that one. That might be one of my favorite. Might be my favorite short. I'm not sure. Electro is really good. Zima, that won best narrative. A punk Christmas tale of a small fisherman's village. What else did I... Oh, animated series competition. Little Edie was there. Episode 2. And Haha You Clowns, which won. So that's really neat. That's cool that Little Edie was there. I didn't get to see that. But I saw Little Edie air on television with Buster and TJ, which I animated. And I went employed. So, Mind Game we saw. Yuasa, very, very good. I want to watch it again. No Dogs or Italians Allowed, the only stop-motion feature of the festival. It's kind of meta. We see, and normally that would make me cringe, but we see like the filmmaker like making the stop-mo puppets, and but what it is it's his family's history. So he's constantly interacting with the puppets as if they're his relatives, like talking to them and chatting with them. And his hand is always coming into frame, and hand. Oh, I have it over here, and he's handing it to them, handing whatever object, handing a hammer, and the puppet would come and grab it, and it looked seamless every time. But it was like, it was about the labor that his parents, or that his ancestors did, and of course stop motion is this very laborious technique. And the only way for him, I think his name is Alan, only way for him to talk with his relatives like this is for him to make them. So I think it was so earned to include himself making the film as the film was happening. Normally I would not enjoy that, but it just worked so well. I mean, it was necessary. Yeah, I think that was the last thing I saw. And maybe with that I'll just freaking call it a day, because I'm kind of pooped. I wonder if I should just do streams where I throw some music on and you just watch it happen, and and I just don't talk, because I mean, it's like I like to do this. I like to share my thoughts, but it does distract me from getting the work done I was telling my friends about streaming, and I was saying, hey, it guarantees you a couple hours of work, even if you can't, if you're feeling kind of unmotivated. But now I'm not so sure if that's true because the amount of work I've done in this stream is not really reflective of the time spent. Yeah. That might be it. No Dogs for Italians was really good. I feel like I still want to talk about Mind Game. That was awesome. Mind Game was so cool. I have to go back to the maybe I'll read a blurb from the book about Mind Game. Let me see. Oh, he did Devilman Crybaby, Masaki Yuasa, if you're familiar with that. He also did some Adventure Time one Adventure Time episode. I think it was. Oh, I couldn't tell you which one it was. You probably could tell if you watched it, but I enjoyed. Enjoyed me or enjoyed Yuasa's films. If it's me, thank you. If it's Yuasa's films, then duh. Everybody enjoys them. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you, Shambe. Appreciate it. Let me find a blurb about Mind Game, because it's difficult for me to put sentences together right now. How about this? In Mind Game, Tonami Galaxy, and Night is Short, there is a sense of never-ending time, yet the characters quickly discover that it does not necessarily provide any more clarity. At times, it's like there is a race with and against time that we must make use of every second, minute, and hour. Mind Game. Well, thank you, Shambe. Mind Game follows Nishi, who he dies. He gets shot trying to defend his friend from getting raped. He dies, and he goes to the he goes to, I guess, the equivalent of the pearly gates, but they depict God in a really interesting way, in every form possible. Every time you cut back to him, he looks different, or it looks different, and Nishi, God's like, okay, Nishi, just go that way. You're done. Like, go. There's no afterlife. Just go, and your soul will just die, whatever. And then God's going back to his own portal, and Nishi's like, what the hell? Like, what am I? I have to live. So he runs and runs and runs, and he outruns God, and makes it back to the real world. His corporeal form. And God's like, well, you've earned it, right? So it goes like a few moments before he got shot, and I won't spoil, but he makes it through. That's just it's a funny part. Maybe it's not a funny situation, but the way it's depicted it's humorous. And he ends up surviving this time, and steals a car, runs away, gets hit by a tsunami. They get swallowed by a whale. He is secluded with these two women, and they meet somebody who's been living in the whale for 30 years. Old man. He's built a house inside the whale, and then. So what I mean when I say it's about understimulation, it's about the desire to feel part of the world and part of society, and not be secluded, because these people that are now in the whale, they all have their own thing. Nishi does manga, and One of the women does fashion design and art, and the old man, he cooks, like, and they just provide this art for each other in whatever form, culinary or fashion or otherwise, and it's there, but there's still, it seems like it's the best time they've ever had, right? They love it. They love this place. It's like a mansion within the whale almost. But after all that, there's still like this yearning to leave, and they must escape. And Yuasa is so good at making these beautiful, beautiful sequences that build and build and build and build and build, and it's like them running out of the whale's mouth because their boat capsized, and they just have to keep running, just running, like on top of the water, running so fast, on all the bits of debris that are getting demolished by this whale feeding in this giant wave, right? And they're just running, 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 and they like running on the bits of debris, running on the water droplets, running on individual molecules of water. Like, it's just funny and funny and funny, but so, like, just so beautiful seeing that they're like anything to get out and re-enter the world. By any means possible. So Mind Game was really good, and that's like, I had the thought. I'm not animating right now, by the way. Just listen to me. It doesn't matter, or don't, or turn it off. But when I was in Ottawa for those 5 days of the festival, 5? Yeah. No. Yes. I was thinking, like, I'm never going to want to consume media again. Like, I've spent 5 days in a dark room watching movies the whole time. But Mind Game is the only film that we saw that we're like, we're going to go home and watch this almost immediately. We haven't yet, but we want to do it because it was just so good. I think with that, I'm just going to end the stream and just chill out. Let's just see what I've done. It is not much, but I did that little 2-frame flicker that we wanted. That doesn't look so good. Okay, well, you get it. I did have one Patreon patron, so I'm going to switch over to, can I do it like this? Yes, you can still hear me. Switch over to this screen. I'm going to let it go for a second. I'll mute my mic, and then we will end it. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by and listening to me ramble about the films that I saw at Ottawa International Animation Festival 2023. I appreciate you. Get your name on this list if you can. Sauce me a couple bucks. I eventually want to do some streams for I don't want to call it a pilot, but it's a long form film that I've been writing for a while. Once it's written, I want to do storyboard streams, and there will be streams about the actual production, but I want it to be like a members only kind of thing. So if you pay $5, you'll get access to those streams. So thank you, everybody. I'm going to mute my mic now.